from the universe, and as you exhale, it travels down the right side of the spine, the right side of the body, and shoots across. It holds it here, and a full breath out. Rolling in from Mother Earth all the energy you possibly can. Technically, there's no difference between yoga and meditation and what yoga was originally about. To paraphrase the Buddha, it's trying to silence the chattering monkey, not in a dialogue. People have their own things that helps them reduce their chattering monkey. It's different for everyone. Just try to be mindful. Just try to live in the present moment. So anything at all which is happening now, whether it's sounds, but don't put any judgment. So it might be a pleasant sound like that in the background, or it could be someone dropping a hammer. It's just all vibration. Let's stay silent for approximately a minute. I want you to note how many of it all, how many times your mind wanders. Well, maybe you just want to open your eyes. So that was a minute. What I'm going to do now, don't have to if you don't want to. This isn't actually the sense of taste, but it's something similar to the sense of taste. Some of you might be too young to remember this. Do you remember the old thing about putting the fruit pasta in your mouth and you've got to don't chew it? What you have, I've said this in numerous classes before. What you tend to find is you chew when your mind wanders because you're not thinking about don't chew, don't chew. That's mindfulness, one of the simplest mindfulness things you can do. You don't have to have one if you don't want to, but if you want to take one, just stick it in your mouth. You can do whatever you want with it, provided you don't chew it. And it's noticing, being mindful, so your mantra to yourself can be whatever the hell you want it to be honest with you, but don't chew. That's basically the mindfulness exercise. You don't have to take one if you don't want one. Don't feel obliged to. You just think, I'll go right to your waist, love. So we can do various ways of trying to focus the brain. This is just another one. But just being in the moment. So you need to focus and concentrate on not chewing. You haven't got to listen to me, I'm not speaking to you, I'm speaking to your subconscious, your unconscious mind. Just carry on focusing on not chewing. Let us visualize a lake in the highlands, in the mountains. And the water of this lake is so still that it truly reflects the blue sky and the mountains. And if you to look into the water, you see that your face is not distorted at all, because the water is calm, is still. And in our Yin yoga practice, that's what we're trying to do. We get in a pose and we remain still and calm in the pose. If you were to take a picture of the lake, you'd see that the mountains and the sky reflected in it, and the actual mountains and the sky above. When you practice breathing in, you can say to yourself, breathing in, I see myself as still waters. And you calm yourself by the breathing. So when we move into a pose, we establish ourselves in the pose and remain still, stable and calm. Perhaps then you want to return your awareness to your breathing. And your breathing can become a wonderful instrument in calming yourself. When you breathe out, you see in that state of calm and stillness that you reflect things as they truly are. You do not distort things anymore. When we're not calm, we distort. You cannot receive the message of other people. You cannot receive the truth from other beings and from the world. And suppose that the moon, the beautiful moon in the sky, wants to reflect herself in the waters of your lake. But if the waters of your lake is not calm, then how can the moon reflect herself truly in you without being distorted? And therefore, it's not the fault of the moon, it's the fault of the water, our water. In this case, our mind. On a basic level with meditation, with yoga, trying to reduce unwanted thoughts, intrusive thoughts. If the lake of the mind of living beings is still, the beautiful moon will reflect itself in it. And if you are still, then your perceptions will be correct and you'll understand what people are trying to tell us. The moon, the mountains, the rivers, the trees, everything's trying to tell us the truth of what it is. That's why we often say in meditation, just be an observer. Don't put any judgment to anything. But because the waters of our mind are not still, that's why we're not able to perceive and to receive the truth from the world, from the cosmos, from Mother Nature. And therefore, that's why we should practice breathing in and out to calm ourselves and to try and still our waters for true understanding to be possible. Sitting quietly and breathing in and out is a wonderful way to calm ourselves and to be still waters. As you're sitting there, I want to see, can you feel your sit bones on the block, on the floor, or on the bolster? This next meditation is a medieval meditation taken from the 112 meditations of Shiva, an ancient Hindu text. I just refer to it as the metronome in my technology here. And all we're going to do is keeping the spine straight and tall. And we'll move like a metronome. As we move from one sit bone to the next. We're going to do this for a couple of minutes. All we're going to do is sway from side to side on our sit bones, from the left sit bone to the right sit bone. And the reason I tell you we're doing this for 2 minutes is because with each one, you're slowly and almost imperceptibly going to reduce the range of motion. You haven't got to do it in time to the metronome. All you've got to do is focus, taking the weight from one sit bone to the other one, but keeping the spine rigid. Keeping the spine tall. Again, for those that like science, by keeping the spine tall and lengthened, it affects that part of the brain associated with happiness. By keeping the spine tall, we create space. When we create space, energy rushes into that space. And now slowly reduce your range of motion. And your metronome like swaying from side to side. And what we're doing is literally centering ourselves, so eventually, within the next 30 seconds, there is no swaying from side to side on our sit bones. Our centre of mass sits directly in the centre, directly in the middle of your sit bones, until you are completely still. What I'd like you to do now is just see if you can't smell that massage cream that you put on your hands or wherever you put it before. And now I invite you just to open your eyes. Do the visualization one now. I'm going to introduce this into the postures when we come into the poses. Did anyone get confused with this through the week? Did anyone lose track of the ball, where the balls of energy were going? I always do. My imagination, that's a frustrating thing. So it's a visualization one now. Let's do the mudra first. Mudra is just a position of the arms, position of the body, position of the hands and the feet. It's just a position. As you look at your left hand, look at the fingers, and whichever finger of your left hand you feel has got the most energy, all you're going to do is fold it in with your thumb and point it somewhere directly down the thigh, towards the front. No forcing. Now your pinky finger and your ring finger, hold it with your thumb in the right hand. You're then going to aim those fingers towards that circle. You're going to sit with the spine tall. You're now going to visualize and imagine that you've got a ball of energy here. Not by your root chakra, right the groin area, in between your fingers and that circle. On the breath in, you're going to send that orb of energy up to the left arm, the left side of the body, which is your crown chakra. That's the end of the breath in. Hold that breath in as you absorb all the energy from the universe, and as you exhale, it travels down the right side of the spine, the right side of the body, and shoots across. It holds it here, the full breath out. Drawing in from Mother Earth all the energy you possibly can. as it then continues its cycle of breath in. So it's orbiting around that side of the body, that side of the spine. So what I'd like to do for the next couple of minutes is just focus on that orb of energy, orbiting your body, orbiting your spine. You breathe in, it goes up the left side. So it's on your crown, the top of your head at the end of that breath in. Hold it. So you don't have to believe in this orb of energy, that's not the point. I want you to imagine though that you do believe that you have an orb, an orbit of energy more correctly. And with each orbit of your body, this ball of energy is growing in luminescence and it's slightly growing in size. This orb of energy is protecting you. Creating space in the body for the energy to flow into. As you breathe in, it's going up the left side. Hold that breath in as you draw in more energy. And as you breathe out, hold that breath out by your root chakra. So that was one orb of energy. Now we're going to do another orb of energy which travels the other way. The root chakra from your sit bones, as you breathe in, goes up the back, comes to the crown. You pause the breath in. As you breathe out, it travels down the front of the body. You hold the breath out here, it's drawing in more energy from Mother Earth. Just visualize this ball of energy, this orbit of energy now for another minute and a half. Second, pose. Now hold the exercise down. Just a big block. Use the balls underneath it. And you're basically in a pentacle in doing yoga or Shavasana or corpse type pose. With the legs, ideally on touching, your arms away from your body, palms up, and just raise that down. There are various techniques at keeping the mind quiet. The most basic of poses, hold the heart is challenged for trying to quieten the chattering monkey. Let's use a mantra to try and quieten our minds. Every single time you breathe in, as you breathe in, a little mantra to yourself. Breathing in, I am happy. And with every breath out, your mantra to yourself. Breathing out, I smile. Your challenge for the next minute, just a minute, is to never let a breath go in where you're not saying to yourself. Breathing in, I am happy. Breathing out, I smile. Perhaps you'll let a smile creep across your face. Breathing in, happy. Breathing out, smile. Next move, knee to chest. Slide your left knee in, hold it with your hand, and bring it into your chest. Straighten the other leg out. Straight if you prefer. And now for this one, I'm going to hold it again for about a minute. I'm going to stay quiet for that minute. Try and use whatever technique works best for you for trying to quieten your mind. Whether it's a mantra or a breath technique or a visualization. Swap the legs over. This time, like you, in your own head, see if you can sing along with the word. You don't have to note the words on. controlling my numbers. Let's go to the counter pose. Let's go to a SWEETS position. Seal. Baby seal. It's this position in YIN. There's three sorts of variations. Elbows underneath the shoulders is the basic one. I'm going to go to a slightly tame one. Put the elbows further out in front and a little bit further to the side. So that's without any props. Relax the shoulders down, relax the lower half. If you like to use props, just be careful you don't come too high up if you choose to use. Remember with YIN, different from your hatha, we're trying to switch off muscles as much as we can. We're trying to work on fascia. And just make sure you don't come too far up. And it's very passive. That's what we're aiming to do as much as we can be in a passive position. Now this, for most people, shouldn't be too problematic from the technique from staying stable. Now see what of a challenge it is though, for trying to control the mind. Controlling the body is a massive challenge for most people in this position. I'm going to hold it for about 2 minutes. Slowly come out. Butterfly. The long six position, just bring the soles of the feet together. Your heels are much far away from your perineum, your groin. So this is without any props. If you know you need props, don't wait for me. If you want to use props, you know where you use them from. Spine nice and tall, breathe in. As you breathe out, the opportunity to move downwards. As you breathe out, slide the hands going forward, draping the spine, a nice curved spine, open down towards your feet. Prone to sciatica means to sit on the block. You may wish to rest your head on a bolster or your hands for support. We'll have to just gently persuade the body, nothing is forced. Yin is based in Taoism. Yin comes from the feminine side. We're just trying to gently persuade our tissues to just move and stretch in a direction where we're putting. It's far more gentle. Just letting it happen and waiting it to happen rather than forcing anything to happen. We stay steady as we can in the pose without moving. You can't hope to have a steady, quiet mind. The body moving. this position now, I'd like to visualize and imagine both of those orbs of energy circulating the body. So as you breathe in, you've got an orb of energy going up the back of the spine. At the same time, you have one going up the left part of the spine and body. Both meeting at the crown, and as we exhale, the one that goes up the spine continues down the front. The energy that comes up the left goes down the right side. See if you can keep trace of both of those orbs of energy as they circulate and orbit your spine. Slowly come out of that one, but use your arms. As we take ourselves now into a more traditional Sphinx position, with a counter pose. This time the elbows underneath the shoulders. So again, you want to use props, just make sure you're roughly in the same height as you're going to use props. It's more yin-like using props, you don't have to. Again, we're trying to take muscle out of it as much as we can. Be as passive as we can. The challenge again being under control the mind. So this time on mantra as we breathe in. I forget the technical name of this in Taoism. You breathe into your heart. As you breathe in, you say to yourself, breathing in, my heart is happy. Breathing out, my heart smiles. See if you can picture and imagine when you're breathing in happiness and sending it into your heart. The seat of the soul, the seat of thought, the seat of emotions. 70,000. And every time you breathe out, breathing out, my heart is happy. Visualize, picture your heart smiling. So technique-wise, it's not a massively challenging one for the body. What happens when we get a little bit more technically challenging? It usually activates and keeps the mind occupied. Let's give it a whirl. Slowly come out of that one. Put the ear pose in here. Called swastikasana, what used to be. Tends to have gone out of fashion since the Nazis got over the word swastika. This is the move. So I'm going to go to the left bum cheek. The left shin is going to go up. We'll use the mat as a frame of reference. So the knee is directly out in front of you. I can't mirror by the way, so. And the left shin is flush with the front of the mat, using that as a frame of reference. So the knee is at a right angle. The right knee, I'm going to take back to roughly the 3 o'clock position. You're going to open up that knee so it's at a right angle. So this shin should be parallel to that. If someone's to look down at you from above, you should be forming a right-handed swastika. From there, rotate. Again, I need a prop for this, I know how tight I am. So you've got internal rotation, so external rotation of the hip, internal rotation of the hip. Quite challenging for me. You're then going to rotate as much around you. You're trying to get your shoulders square as much as your mobility will allow to that thigh. As flush as you can to that side of the mat. And from there, on the breath out, what you're trying to do is to take it down. I can't just yet. I know in about 10 seconds I'll be able to get quite a good release from this, so I would need a bit of a prop there to start with. So don't be afraid to use your props. But I know in about 10 seconds, I get a quick release, and I can go much further down and much further out. Ultimately, can you try and lay your torso down? But again, this is yin, not hatha. You just go to a very, very mild discomfort. Just bring this heel that way if you can. Yeah. And just bring your foot forward a little bit. That's it. Super. And bring that heel right way back. That's it. And bottom out. That's it. So don't be afraid to use your props. A different mantra on our breath now. Straightforward one. Every time you breathe in, say, I'm aware, I'm breathing in. I'm aware, I'm breathing out. So every time you breathe in, I'm aware that I'm breathing in. I'm aware I'm breathing out. Each time that you do breathe in, just realise that you're breathing in the power of the universe, the power of Mother Nature. And each time you breathe out, realise that you let go of all that which is harmful to you. Nice and slowly. I like that. Great for you, for your sport as well. So that's a right hand thrust again. Right left hand now. So you take yourself down to your right bum cheek. Your right shin goes forward. So again, this is the deer pose. So there's that knee directly in line with 12 o'clock position to your hip. It's flush with the front of the mat. Take the left leg back to roughly a 9 o'clock position, again, it's in line with the hip, and that knee is at a right angle. So again, if someone's looked down from above, it'll be a left-handed swastika. The key for this is don't allow the knees or the feet or legs to move as you rotate around to the right, to the 3 o'clock position, and then walk out as best you can. Again, in yin, we're after mild discomfort. present, be where you are. Just for the next minute, what I'd like to do, listen to as many different sounds as you can possibly hear, whether it's me walking around, might be your own breath, might be someone moving around. Don't put any judgment to it. There's no such thing as a good sound or a bad sound. Just vibration. Well, there might be sounds that you find more pleasing. But to call the sound a bad sound or a good sound is putting judgment to that sound. Everyone has choice. Whether they want to be upset by a sound, whether they want to let that sound disturb their peace and tranquility, you're choosing to. Again, very slowly, just ease yourself out of that pose. I'm not going to dictate, just do any pose that you want to get, that your body feels, or any movement you feel your body wants to make. You can tune with your intuition. What does your body want you to do now? Might not want you to do anything, that's fine. But just listen to your intuition. Because again, from a Taoist point of view, it's exactly what we're trying to do. Is get back to nature, really, what we truly are. And then just sit yourselves up to the caterpillar without any props first. Legs are just out in front, spine as tall, hands on the thighs. Breathe in, on the breath out, you just slide forward and over. But not any great deal of discomfort, just mild. You just want to put the tissue, the fascia, on a mild stretch, that's all. With props, you may want to block underneath a drum or a wedge. You may want to bolt step just to support. So take the pressure off the muscles and back onto the fascia. We'll open up the spine, and particularly on the back now. Where space is created, energy will flow. The essence of Taoism is all about the flow, creating space and allowing the energy to flow. It's different. It's similar, but different principles in Hatha and in Yin. Hatha is Indian, Yin is Chinese, is Taoism. The energy systems are slightly different, but in essence, the same. It's about getting energy to flow from down by our base, down by our root. It's the powerhouse, what Joseph Platts called the powerhouse. The lower dantian, Chinese traditional medicine, you've got middle and upper dantian. So all around the spine. So perhaps you may wish to visualize the orbs of energy. Spoken to in the past, you may have your own some of the things that you do that you prefer to visualize, that's fine. It's whatever works for you. But in particular, we're trying to increase our energy, our YIN, our Qi, prana. And it rises from the base and circulates the spine, circulates the body. Come out of that, let's go to a counter pose. The counter pose from the Yin point of view. It's called the seal. It's about shoulder width, your arms out. So again, you want to use the props for this, just ensure, so this is the third version of the Sphinx. We have that version, that version. Each one brings us the spine, it's a greater extension of the hips there. But if you're going to use a prop, I always use it, but just make sure that you don't go actually lower down than the 10. From a prop point of view, you're probably looking at from most people lower it. So each Sphinx that we've done so far, versions of Sphinx, have taken us slightly higher and higher within the ear. This is the seal. Again, with the more basic technique, it's usually more problematic and challenging to control the mind. So I'm going to be quiet for the next minute and a half. Slowly come out of that. I've got a question to pose for you while you're doing the next pose, and that is, out of all the poses we've done so far, which one challenged the mind most? In other words, which one did your mind just keep on wandering and thinking about other things? What we're going to do is, within YIN, it's called Baby Dragon. Don't know the Sanskrit in Hatha, there's normally quite a number of names in Hatha. I learned as stepping horse. I'll show you from two different directions. It's both a hip opener and a hip opposite hip closer. From a basic quadruped position there, you're going to take a step forward with the left leg. So it's on the inside of the hand and slide the right leg away. You may want props for this. The props may be, you might want some support underneath that knee, maybe even underneath the thigh, just there to help support it. The most crucial part of this is two things. The shin is perpendicular to the knee over the ankle, and that your torso is actually resting on the thigh. Now I'm going off tangent slightly because it's Hatha yoga, so those that are used to Hatha might be different versions. The whole point of this historically in Hatha is to do the energy channels, is to close off the ida, to close off the yang, to close off the, I apologise. The ida is the yin side of the body. So in this particular pose, you're closing off your feminine energy side. So you open up and highlight more the masculine, the more yang side. And look at this, what when you do the other side, it's the opposite. You're closing off Pingala, you're closing off the masculine side, you're opening up your feminine side. So from an energy channel point of view, you wouldn't actually be doing both sides. You'd be asking the question, what energy do you want to bring to the fore? You okay with that? Having said that, here we're going to do both sides. So, you may, depending on the length of your arms, the biggest one, like I said, is the thigh, the torso. This side of the body must be closed up with the thigh. So yes, some people might be used to using blocks, but not if that takes the thigh away from the torso, away from the thigh. You've got to have the thigh on the torso. Whether you need that proper depending on the length of your shin and the length of your arms. If you've got a long shin and small arms, you may better well want block. I'm only holding this for about a minute. That's all he says. So always slide that right leg away.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's going
Actually, here we go. There's a good chance to practice what we've been preaching. Choose to it. Listen to it, don't give a judgment. It's just a sound, it's just a vibration. Yeah, come on, that one. Let's swap on the side. Let's close off our masculine side. Tanya, you just stay in this position the rest of the day, okay? Close off your masculine energy, let the feminine energy come out. From a yin point of view, you won't be technical about it, you'd really just be doing this side, just bring out your yin side, which is the feminine side, which is the gentle persuasion side, not the stereotypical masculine way of work, brute force. Just check that your knee hasn't wandered out to the side, that's called the winged dragon. We also deliberately want to curve in that spine, let the head go down. We're not trying to engage the back muscles, we're trying to do the opposite, we're actually trying to switch them off. Now slowly come out of that one. 2 knees to the chest one. Wind relieving pose, we don't know it. So, leave your hands on your knees there, like hands on your knees. That's why the hands on your knees gets more of a stretch. And you want to interlock the fingers, entirely up to you. Just hold the bit passively, head down, tailbone down, and the knees into the chest. I'm just going to hold this one as a counter pose to kind of stretch off that one back. Just for a couple of minutes. So again, just to recap, within both Hinduism and Taoism, the concept of the wind was energy. It wasn't what you think it is, as most people interpret this move to be a form. Nothing to do with that. It's wind in relation to prana, it's just another word for wind. Vayu is another one. Chi is another one. The Taoist point of view, similar in Hatha and Yin, in Indian philosophy. They refer to evil spirits, viruses, things that are carried in the air, in the atmosphere, in the wind. They refer to them as winds. Anything which is toxic in the body, they refer to it as wind. Negative energy is another way of looking at it, or one other way of looking at it. So this position here, sort of like a liver squeeze as well, squeezing the internal organs. The idea being within Taoism is you're squeezing, think of it as you're squeezing out. Like you've ever washed a really dirty car with sponges and absolutely manky as you put it. That's what you're doing. You're basically squeezing all the dirt out, squeezing the bad energy, the wind out. So it's more to do with energy. Definitely use our first prop if you have been using props. Now you want the strap. We're going to do a hamstring stretch now. Just put a little do hip openers for step of 3, but we're just going to do the hamstring one. So put the strap on your right thigh, or your right foot, I should say. Now for me, because I like to start with this one usually, in the sense that it sums up what yin is about. So have the legs straight, have both legs straight, the right leg is in the air, flex that foot back. Now it sums up on the 3 principles of yin. First one is, we don't take anything too far, it's Taoism, it is yin, it's feminine. So put that leg on stretch until it's just in mild discomfort. Could you hold that if I was to ask you to for 20 minutes? I'm not going to ask you to. And just stay there, just hold that position. Be steady in the position. Now focus on your breath. Breathe in long, slow and full. In almost all of the pranayamas from an Indian point of view, there's only one which isn't. They all slow the breath down. That's the whole aim of it, is just to slow the breathing down. It has a positive effect on the brain, on our brain waves, and also on our blood chemistry for like science. So it shouldn't be agony, it should just be yin. A very mild, very feminine, very gentle stretch on the tissues. It's not just about the leg, it's also about the foot. Flexing that foot back as well. And then just bend the knee, come out of that, and just swap it over. So again, we're not after agony, just gently persuade those tissues to give. Once you're in a pose, stay there, stay stable. And focus on the breath. You want the breath to be stable. The mind can't possibly be stable and quiet if the breath is disorganized and the body is disorganized. Perhaps a good chance time to just listen to various sounds around the room. And slowly bend the knees from my my all-time favourite ones now. Definitely the top for this one, otherwise it's a waste of time. Forget what people in Hatha Yoga tell you. Legs up and wall. Viparati Karani. And moving your hand then. How you want to get into it, up to you, that's what I get to. The holster there. Underneath the pelvis, underneath the bum. The legs in the air, legs are together, knees slightly bent. The arms now, I sometimes need a prop for my elbows. To bring in the heart meridians and the lung meridians, just put your arms over your head. Can you hold on to each hand, each elbow in your hand? And remember, both in Taoism, both in Yin, Yoga and Taoism, every pose is a meditation, or should be. Well, I don't like sun salutations, I should go on pants. It's a lovely inversion. The heart is higher than the head, increasing blood flow to the brain via gravity, which is good. Blood flow to the brain, unless you just had a stroke, is good. Mimics what happens when we sleep. Another way which increases blood flow to the brain in a positive way is effectively all your pranayamas. Your breathing control, where ultimately all we're really doing is just slowing the breath down. So the brain isn't getting the oxygen it wants, 20% at rest. So your brain goes searching for oxygen. So it opens up in the vascular bed of the brain, opens up and searches for oxygen. It's very common for the brain. It gets detritus from the metabolism away from the brain, it gets nutrients into the brain. Your heart hasn't got to pump that blood all the way to your feet. Effectively pools. So from an energy perspective, it's like you're saving and conserving energy towards the spine, circulating around the spine. You know your basic first aid when you're doing something, should be raised to the legs. Keeping the blood, keeping the energy that it needs to be, the most vital part of the body. Which from a Taoist point of view, from a YIN point of view, is the spine. Slowly come into that one. Just going to do a little bit of a, what we call a guided meditation next. So I like to dictate when you do meditation to get in X pose or Y pose. You get into any pose at all that you'd like to do for your meditation. Remember, you let to bring any pose as a pose for your meditation in. You should do. Should we do one more round? One more round of sweeties?
Yeah.
How did you get on before, by the way? Did you find yourself tuning it?
No.
Are you tuning it while your mind wandered or not? That's the biggest one I want you to try and link. Was it the case of you thinking something else and you
There was
didn't
one
realise?
point I went and biting. Oh!
When you realise if you do chew, that your mind is obviously wandered, because the mindfulness whole part of it is don't chew. Whereas like thought and say, breathing in, I'm aware I'm breathing in, that's your meditation, that's what you're focusing on. You don't have to take what you don't want it, by the way. Yeah? So now the mindfulness is all about don't chew. That's your effective mantra to yourself. Now we'll be talking while we're doing this as well, by the way. Only because some people can chew for about 10 minutes and we haven't got to understand, that's all.
Look at the two of them, just swallowed you all over with that bowl.
So if you
Just watched you go all over with that bowl.
They mindful dogs.
Getting there.
So for this one, you know, a meditative pose, whatever pose you for yourself. Yeah. But what I would like you to do, if you don't normally do it anyway, is just close your eyes. So I said this to some of you last week, or I was telling a few stories last week, Zen stories, zones. What's something that might have happened? You've ever been out and someone's just barged into you? When initially you got angry because someone's just barged into you, maybe they just punched you in the back or in the shoulder, and you turn around with your best mate, having a laugh. So where did that initial anger go? So we can hear things, see things, witness things, experience things that might rile us up. It's that dawn, it's that realisation that, oh, there was nothing to be round about, it was my best mate. So where did that anger dissipate to? What made that anger go away? Last week I told you the story of actually the founder of Zen in his boat. Thousands of years ago, he was on a river, tied up, just enjoying, lying there relaxing. When he thought another boat had bumped into him, he got up to give words, all angry and annoyed. And all that had happened is his boat had just bumped into the bank, started a river. And in an instant, his anger just went, where did it go? What caused it to go? And what caused it to go was how we view to look at things. So I've mentioned today about not putting judgment to things. That's sort of what it is. It's how you choose to look at something. If you choose to let it annoy you, then it will annoy you. If something does annoy you, just imagine that it doesn't. And the easiest way to get into any meditative state is to begin by listening. You just simply close your eyes and allow yourself to hear all the sounds that are going on around you. Just listen to the general hum and the buzz of the world. Just as if you were listening to music, don't try to identify the sounds you're hearing. Don't put names on them. Simply allow the sound to play with your eardrums and just let them go. Just be an observer. Let your ears hear whatever they want to hear. Don't judge the sounds. There's no such thing as proper or improper sounds, and it doesn't matter. Someone coughs, sneezes, or drops something, it's just all sound. It just gives you more to listen to. Even my voice, just listen to the sound of my voice as if it's just noise. Don't try to make sense of what I'm saying. Because your unconscious mind will take care of that automatically. You don't have to try and understand anything. Just listen to the sound. And you'll find that you naturally can't help but identify the sounds. But you'll probably still go on thinking as well, like chatting monkey, talking to yourself inside your head automatically. But don't try and repress those thoughts. If any thoughts do come up, don't try and repress them. Don't force them out of your mind. Just be an observer. And if you do hear thoughts, as you hear sounds coming in your head, simply listen to them as part of the general noise going on around you. Just as you might listen to the dogs fidgeting or cars going by outside. So just look at your own thoughts as just another part of the noise. And certainly in meditation you'll find that the so-called outside world and the so-called inside world come together as if they're happening. They just happen. Your thoughts happening, just like the sounds outside, no different. And everything is simply happening. And all you're doing, you, the real you, is watching, observing it all. Now in this process, another thing that has happened is that you're breathing. Maybe as I've been talking, maybe you haven't been focusing consciously on your breath. As you start meditating, you allow your breath to run just as it will. Don't try and do anything special, no breathing exercise. Just watch your breath breathing. Just let it do what it wants to do. And then notice a curious thing about this. You say in the ordinary way, I breathe. Because you feel that breathing is something you are doing voluntarily. Just the same way you might be walking. But you'll also notice that when you're not thinking about breathing, your breathing goes on just the same. So we can consciously control breath, or it can be unconscious. So the curious thing about our breath or breathing is that it can be looked at both as voluntary and involuntary. Which means that you can feel on the one hand, I'm doing it, I'm bringing it about. And on the other hand, as if it's something that's happening to me. And that's why breathing is so important part of meditation. Because it's going to show you that as you become aware of your breath, that the hard and fast division that we make between what we do on the one hand and what happens to us on the other is arbitrary. So that as you watch your breathing, you'll become aware that both the voluntary and the involuntary aspects of your experience are all one happening. That may seem scary because you may think, am I just a puppet of the happening? Am I a passive witness to what is going on, beyond my control? Or on the other hand, am I really doing everything that is going on? Am I responsible? And the reality, the truth is, it's both. Both things are true. You can see what is happening to you, and on the other hand, you are doing everything. Your eyes turn sunlight and nerve endings, that is, in your skin, and you can detect hot, or what you can detect when it's cold. Your own senses are creating your version of the world. When we're not talking about it or thinking about it, then there's just this happening of it. It's just happening to us. Now, when you breathe for a while, just letting it happen and not forcing it in any way, you'll discover curiously that without making any effort, you can breathe more and more deeply. In other words, suppose you're breathing out. You get the sensation that your breath is falling out, dropping outwards. The same feeling you had if you were settling down into an extremely comfortable bed. And you just get as heavy as possible. And let yourself go. And you let your breath go out in just that way. And when it's thoroughly comfortable out, and it feels like coming back in again, don't pull it back in. Let it fall back in. Letting your lungs expand, until they feel very comfortably full. Then you just wait a moment, let it stay there. And then once again, just let it fall out. And so in this way, you'll discover that your breath gets naturally easier and easier and slower and more powerful. And so with these various aids, these various little things you can do, listening to sound, listening to your interior thoughts, just as something that was going on, not as something that you're doing. They're just happening, they just happen to be happening. Watching your breath as neither voluntary or involuntary. You're simply aware of these basic sensations. Then you're in a state of meditation. You're in the now, mindful of your one used to phrase. But don't hurry anything. Don't worry about the future. Don't worry about what progress you're making or may not be making. Just be content to be aware of what is, without judgment. And in particular, don't be particularly selective about what you should be thinking of. Just watch whatever is happening. Now slowly open your eyes, bring yourself up to seated if you need to. And throughout all that, my wife was mentioning